Let us enter the quiet together, not to withdraw from life, but to let life be met from a deeper center. We can live a long, long time in an atmosphere of meditation and still keep our feet on the ground. Why should we keep our feet on the ground? Because the word must become flesh. It is not enough to have a beautiful idea, not enough to admire a principle from afar. If it is truth, it must show itself in the way we speak to the cashier, in the way we take a phone call, in the way a long-held ache loosens of itself without our pushing. So, feet on the ground now. Feel them. Heart in silence. Not the silence of effort, but the silence that already is when thought loosens its grip. Be still and know that I am God. We are going to make a simple promise to one another tonight. We are not here to accumulate phrases. We are here to test one line that has been spoken across centuries. A line that opens something larger than ourselves. In a few moments, not yet, but soon, we will take 60 seconds and we will say inwardly, without strain, I, my own self, can do nothing. And then we will let the words fall into the quiet and do nothing. Not nothing in despair, but nothing in trust. That 1 minute, measured by an ordinary clock, will be our laboratory. And then, as we go on, we will watch whether the atmosphere shifts even a degree and whether that shift travels with us into the places that have been tight. Why do we need such a practice? Because there is a human ache in this room, and we can name it without shame. Resentments, grudges that feel glued to us. Someone spoke a word 6 months ago, or 6 years, and it still rises like a heat in the body. A face from the past appears in thought, and we feel the stomach harden, the jaw set. How long we have tried to wrestle these things down. Mental effort looks noble at first, but you have noticed how it feeds the very thing it tries to starve. The more we tell it to go, the more we affirm it is ours to manage, and so the glue thickens. Judge not according to the appearance, the Master said, but judge righteous judgment. We have tried to upgrade our judgments rather than relinquish the judge. This way is different. It removes the glue by removing the self that keeps it. When I say I, my own self, can do nothing, I am not reducing myself to weakness. I am stepping aside to let strength be strength. The Christ Jesus gave us those words. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. That is not mock humility. That is a working law. We do not conquer a resentment by getting smarter, kinder, or more spiritual on the human level. We do not make our minds stronger against an image. We withdraw authorship. We stop being the one who holds the ledger in that instant of consent, because it is consent, not effort. An invisible presence is admitted, and it has its own way. It is the presence that goes before you to make the crooked places straight. And so it is. Let this become our atmosphere now, an atmosphere in which no one is being judged, not for what they feel, not for what they have carried. You are not being asked to be better. You are being asked to be honest and to be still. There is neither good nor evil in the picture that rises to mind. The picture is a picture. The good is invisible. It is the life and love behind forms. Our work is to return value to the invisible, and we do that not by denial, but by a simple turning. Stop short, just there where the mind wants to add a comment, and turn within. Father, glorify thyself. That is all. If you will, let yourself breathe a little easier right now, not by trying to breathe, by noticing that breath is already given. Take no thought for the breath, and breath is there. Take no thought for what to feel, and the presence meets the feeling where it is. This is experiential. If it does not prove itself, do not believe it because I have said it, or because scripture is quoted. The scriptures are true as life is true, not as arguments are true. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renewing does not mean decorating. It means a new source, a new center. Tonight we set a simple pattern. One line, 60 seconds, and then shared noticing. No performance, no forcing, no trying to manufacture peace. If a dog barks in the street, let it bark. If the neighbor's music plays, let it play. We are not going into a cave. We are sitting as we are in clothes, in bodies, in a room with lights and consenting that the kingdom, which is not meat or drink, but righteousness, peace, and joy, announce itself without our management. In this room, let us agree to lay down blame and praise alike. Praise can be as sticky as blame when it attaches to a person as if that person, this mask, this persona were the source. We are not making saints or sinners here. We are beholding the place in us and in our neighbor that needs neither costume, a person without qualities. That is not a put down. It is a release. You are free not to be the author of good or evil. You are free to say, all that the Father hath is mine, and to let I and the Father are one be the truth of your being, quietly, without display. So the invitation is simple, and we will keep it simple all the way through. We will test a sentence in real time. We will let the atmosphere tell us what it does. And if you find even the smallest clearing, 1 degree of softening where a grudge had been rigid, take note. That is the word taking flesh. That is the presence doing what presence does when given the least open door. Thank you for consenting to this quiet. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep your heart in silence. We are ready. Now, why should surrender do in a moment what months of willpower could not do? Because resentment is not a thing in itself. It is an authorship. It is a private pen that writes good on this face and evil on that one, mine on this memory and theirs on that thorn. The judging mind assigns qualities to pictures and then becomes bound to the very qualities it has projected. It reads its own script and calls it truth. In that sense, willpower can only edit a script it already wrote. It cannot free you because it is the author and the prosecutor both. Judge not according to the appearance, the Master told us, but judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment does not mean a better verdict. It means no verdict authored by the personal mind. It means withdrawing the pen. It means letting the unseen good remain unseen until it reveals itself, rather than painting it onto the form. When you resent, notice the mechanism. A picture of a person arises, a scene, a sentence spoken, the angle of a look, and instantly a seal is stamped guilty, unkind, careless, or just as binding, noble, heroic, mine. The picture seems to have a weight of its own, but its weight is borrowed from your belief. Why callest thou me good? Jesus asked. None is good, save one. That is God. In what sense did he say that? In the sense that the good does not reside in the picture, not even the picture of the holiest man who ever walked. The good is invisible. The good is the life, the love, the source. So long as I put the value in the picture, my picture of the offender, my picture of myself as the offended, I have to hold it up. And if I hold it up, it holds me. Willpower sets about to repaint the scene. It puts on thicker makeup, positive thinking, noble phrases, indignant silence. It tells the mind to be better, kinder, more even. But whose mind? The same mind that divided the world and named one side enemy and the other side victim. Can a divided house reconcile itself? A house divided against itself cannot stand. Mental pushing cannot reconcile what it itself divides. To try is to tighten the knot. You know this by experience. The more you repeat, I must let go, I must forgive, I must be above this, the more the body clenches, the more the story repeats in Technicolor. Will says, I will stop thinking of it, and then checks every minute to make sure it has stopped thinking of it. That is feeding it. Surrender is another country. It begins with the admission that I am not the doer here. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. That is not a pious line. It is a release of authorship. In practice, it looks like this. The scene arises, the face, the voice, the word that stung, and before the mind rushes to assign meaning, we stop short. We say within, quietly, I, my own self, can do nothing. And we mean it, not as a formula to get a result, but as a doorway out of authorship. We withdraw the assignment. We take no thought. We give no new labels. We let the presence that goes before us do what we do not know how to do. And in that not knowing, the pair of images that fed each other offender and offended begin to fade. Without a judge, there is no case to try. But does surrender excuse the wrong? That is a fair question. In appearance, there are clumsy words, broken promises, unpaid debts. On the human level, there are necessary conversations, boundaries, reconciliations. Keeping our feet on the ground includes attending to those when they appear as ours to attend. Yet the difference is this. We stop trying to fix a picture by pushing on the picture. We cease believing that our mental verdict is the power. We return value to the invisible. We recognize this. The other person, as person, is neither good nor evil. This memory, as picture, is neither good nor evil. The good, if it appears, is God appearing as harmony. The correction, if it comes, is God correcting by changing hearts, timing, and understanding. Our part is to stop being the author so that the author may write. Consider the small scenes in which resentment thrives. An email with a sharp edge. A driver who cuts in. A family member who repeats the old complaint at the table. Watch the instant in which the inner voice reaches for the pen. There they go again. They always do this. I am the one who, in that instant, stop short, turn within. Do not plaster over the feeling. Do not rehearse the case. Say, I, my own self, can do nothing. That is all. And then be still for a breath, or 2, or 10. In that stillness, something sweet happens, not performed by you. Heat cools, space opens. Sometimes the right word comes. Sometimes a silence that is not sullen. Sometimes an action that is simple and free of warfare. You did not do it. It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. He does not sell it to the strongest will. Why does this work faster than will? Because it cuts the line that fed the picture. Resentment lives on authorship. It requires you to believe you are the one who must maintain the case. Withdraw the belief, and the case collapses for lack of prosecution. You are not the offended one trying to forgive. You are the child of God, beholding the presence where a mask had stood. Persona means mask. the neighbor's persona, your persona, the incident's persona, mask. When we refuse to pin a quality to the mask, we set it down. Be still and know that I am God. That knowing is not information. It is the felt absence of the little judge. In that absence, harmony has room to appear in ways the mind could not design. Take no thought, then, for how the apology will come or whether it will come. Take no thought for how the workplace will smooth. Take no thought even for your own improvement. You are not improving yourself. You are relinquishing yourself as the improver. And you will find, as many of us have found, that in the degree you withdraw authorship, resentment dissolves, not because you have vanquished it, but because there is nothing left in you to keep it. That is the speed of grace. It does not move in hours and days. It moves in the instant a false author puts down the pen and the living author takes up the scene. And so it is. Now let us be very plain with one another. The word must become flesh. If this remains a beautiful sentence only, if it does not appear as gentleness in the market, as wisdom at the office, as a softened glance at the family table, then it is no proof. Why should we keep our feet on the ground? Because the kingdom that is not meat or drink must show itself in meat and drink, in invoices and emails, in parking lots and kitchens. And the word was made flesh and dwelt among us. Not in a dream world somewhere else, but here, where a price is misrung and a voice rises and a habit tries to take the pen again. We are not speaking of two different worlds. We are speaking of two different concepts of the same universe. One concept pins good and evil to pictures and fights. The other returns value to the invisible. Presence and watches harmony appear without authorship. We are not fleeing. Escapism has no place in this work. To go away to a mountaintop within, while the heart harbors a case, and then to return with thicker armor, is not proof that God governs your affairs. The word must become flesh, or it is an idea we admire and put back on the shelf. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. All these things, groceries and deadlines, reconciliations and right words added, not forced. So we are going to ask for verification, not argument, verification. In a few minutes, we will stop and take 60 seconds to say, I, my own self, can do nothing. And then we will do nothing. And then we will watch. If even a small transaction that had been tight loosens by 1 degree, take note, that is the word becoming flesh. Consider the market. You have waited your turn. The cashier is new. The line is long. The register beeps insistently. And when the total flashes, you see the apples have been charged twice. The human mind reaches immediately for the script. They always do this here. I must not be taken advantage of. I will speak sharply to be heard. Feel the heat starting to rise. In that instant, stop short, turn within, say quietly, I, my own self, can do nothing, and then take no thought. The picture before you is neither good nor evil. This is a receipt. This is a beep. This is a face. The good, if it is to appear, is invisible now, the presence behind this scene. Wait one silent breath. Then, perhaps you speak in an ordinary voice. Would you kindly check that line? Perhaps you do not speak at all, and with no prompting, the cashier frowns, presses a key, and says, Oh, I see. I rang it twice. Let me correct that. You did not work it. It is the Father that dwelleth in me. He doeth the works. Or suppose the correction does not come. Suppose the error stands for the moment. Do not rush to call that evil. In the quiet, you may feel strangely unburdened. And as you turn to go, the manager who overheard touches your sleeve and says, "Come a moment. We will make this right." Or it is made right later. The point is this. You did not author a quarrel. You did not author a virtue. You returned value to the invisible, and the presence went before you to make the crooked place straight. Consider the office. An email arrives with your name misrepresented and your work implied to be at fault. The fingers fly to reply. Watch that. See the pen of authorship lifted. Hear the inner voice warming to its case. Stop everything. I can of mine own self do nothing. Let the sentence lift your hands from the keyboard. Be still and know. In that stillness, perhaps a line comes that is simple and undefended. Thank you for flagging this. Here is the piece that was missing. Or perhaps you do not send anything yet. An hour later, another email appears. Correction, that was my oversight. You did not make that happen. Or perhaps no apology appears. Instead, the meeting in which the matter is aired comes under a gentler atmosphere, and the very person you feared would press is unaccountably fair. By their fruits ye shall know them. The fruit is not your triumph. It is quiet rightness unfolding where force would have broken something. Consider the family table. A familiar voice touches a tender place with an old jest. The jaw tightens. The story from 10 years ago is right there, ready to prosecute. Remember now, persona is mask. This parent, this child, this partner before you is neither good nor evil as a person. Behold a person without qualities. Turn within. Father, glorify thyself. In that instant, the need to win leaves. You might answer lightly and truly, and the table tilts toward laughter without anyone being the butt. You might say nothing, and another unforced subject appears. You might excuse yourself to help in the kitchen, not to avoid, but to let the presence dissolve the stickiness. And later, without your plan, there is a soft conversation at the sink that never could have been arranged by policy. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. That is scripture, and it is a description of a living law, not a promise postponed to another realm. These are small scenes. They are also the only scenes there are for the word to become flesh. If truth is what we say it is, it will prove itself there without our management. The good is invisible until it appears as gentleness, as fairness, as exactness, as timing. When it appears, do not attribute it to the person or to yourself. Why callest thou me good? None is good, save one, that is, God. To live like this is not to be passive. It is to be released from the bondage of being the doer. It is to let the kingdom that is within announce itself as harmonies without. So we will test it. We will anchor it in 1 minute of consent. Then we will take it with us to the market, to the office, to the family table, and we will let the presence have the scene. If it is true, it will not need our pushing. If it is true, it will be flesh. And so it is. Let us take the line itself and let us hear it as a living law and not as a sigh of defeat. I, my own self, can do nothing. If you will test the feel of it, does it push you down? No. It takes the weight off. It removes the pretense that you must be the light, the judge, the arranger. It closes the little project called personal will. And in that very closing opens the door that has been there all along. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. A law does not plead. It describes how things are. Take no thought. Your Father knoweth. I can of mine own self do nothing. These are the same current named two ways. When you step out of authorship, the current that is already flowing is felt, and it carries what needs carrying without your strain. There is a paradox here, and we cannot avoid it, because it is the very hinge of freedom. The line erases the little self that insists on being right, and in that erasure there is not a vacuum, but presence. He that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. You are not becoming less, you are becoming transparent. You are not abdicating life. You are yielding the mask so that life may show itself as you. Persona means mask. The mask wants to win, to fix, to secure outcomes by cleverness and pressure. The Christ within has no such need. It is the presence that goes before you to make the crooked places straight. When the mask bows out, I, my own self, can do nothing. The invisible good that has no opposite has room to appear in the scene that is before you, whether that is a checkout line or a kitchen sink at night. Now take this line relationally, or it will remain an idea. First, say it concerning yourself, not as self-belittlement, but as truthfulness. In the hot moment when the jaw tightens, when the email stings, when the old story reaches for the microphone, stop short. Say within, quietly, I, my own self, can do nothing. Then be still a breath. Refuse to author the next thought. Refuse to assign the next quality. In that breath, the compulsion to prosecute loses oxygen. Then, say it very softly, not aloud, but as a beholding concerning the one you resent. He of his own self can do nothing. She of her own self can do nothing. This is not an insult. It is a liberation. It releases them from being the source of evil or the source of good in your mind. It unhooks the picture from the value you had attached. They are neither good nor evil as persons. The good, if it is to appear, is God appearing. You are beholding a person without qualities. In that beholding, there is nothing left in you that needs to win. Do not fear that this empties you of power. It empties you of pretense. Who, then, are you? Not the own self that does nothing, but the transparency through which the one does the works. I and my Father are one. All that the Father hath is mine. In what sense? Not that the human mind has inherited a warehouse of virtues, but that the life that is God constitutes your being and knows how to express as timing, as word, as silence, as adjustment, without your anxiety. When you adopt the posture, I, my own self, can do nothing, you are aligning with how you actually exist. You are discarding a mask and acknowledging identity. And identity is never small. It is meek, and meekness is not weakness. It is the absence of resistance to God. Let us be plain. This sentence closes personal will and opens the presence. You will feel the closing. The shoulders drop. The breath becomes a given again. The mind's manufacture halts. You will feel the opening. Something gentle, unspectacular, quietly authoritative takes the center. The scene may not change in an instant, but the atmosphere does. And the atmosphere is the law of the scene. In that atmosphere, you will find yourself speaking a true word without edge, or saying nothing without sulking, or moving your chair, or laughing. and none of it will carry the metallic taste of managing. Why callest thou me good? The master said. None is good, save one, that is God. Let that sentence accompany its cousin. Together they dissolve the habit of pinning value to a face, to a phrase, to a past. Together they make room for the kingdom to add all these things. So the way of it is simple, and we will keep it simple. Say it concerning yourself, say it concerning your brother, and then consent to be still. Do not try to use it as a charm to get your way. It is the end of getting your way. It is the beginning of being the way through which way itself announces. And when it does, when a rightness appears that you cannot trace to your cleverness, remember where it came from and do not reattach the mask. Thank the presence and let it go before you again. And so it is. Let us do this now, not later when the mood is better, not tomorrow when the house is quiet, but now with the life you are in. Choose one grudge, one irritation, one small heat you are willing to release today. Do not retell the story. Do not justify it or condemn it. Simply name it inwardly, this face, this sentence, this moment, and then lay down the pen. There is neither good nor evil in the picture. It is a picture. The good, if it is to be felt, is invisible for now. We are going to turn together from the picture to the presence. Settle where you are. Feet on the ground. Shoulders allowed to drop their posts. The breath is already given. You do not have to take it. On the next in-breath, say within, without strain, I, my own self, can do nothing. Not as a charm, not as an argument, but as a simple truth. On the out-breath, let the words fall into silence. Do not reach for another sentence. Let the silence say what needs saying. Again, when the in-breath naturally appears, let the line appear with it. I, my own self, can do nothing. And on the out-breath, release it into quiet. That is all. Consent, not effort. Be still and know that I am God. We will hold a true 60 seconds of shared stillness now. Not a performance, not a project, no fixing, no rehearsing, no polishing of yourself or of the other. If a thought of the story rises, let it pass like a boat on a river. You are not the dock. If you find yourself adding commentary, stop short and return to the simple pattern. On the in-breath, the line. On the out-breath, the fall into silence. If even the line feels like too much, let it go and rest in the silence alone. The Father knoweth. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. If a sound in the room comes, let it be part of the stillness. If a sensation in the body pulses, let it be part of the stillness. Take no thought for how you are doing. Take no thought for what should happen. Our consent is the only door we are asked to open. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. We begin now, and for this 1 minute, I will keep my words spare so that you may keep your consent full. First breath. I, my own self, can do nothing. Out breath, silence. Let the picture you named stand without your labels. Second breath. I, my own self, can do nothing. Out breath, silence. Do not try to make peace. Let peace be if it wishes. Third breath. If the line wants to speak, let it. If not, be still. Take no thought. Your Father knoweth. Fourth breath. Notice the absence of having to drive anything. Notice the way the breath arrives, whether you think of it or not. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom, not your labor to pry it open. If you feel a softening, do not catch it and pin it as good. If you feel nothing at all, bless that. It is not nothing. It is quiet ground. If you feel a neutrality where heat had been, notice it as one notices the weather, not with analysis, simply with recognition. The pressure is less. If a tear comes, let it. If a laugh comes, let it. If boredom comes, let it pass without an argument. We are not improving ourselves. We are relinquishing ourselves as the improver. The presence that goes before you is not authored by your sensation in this minute. And now, gently, we let the minute complete. Do not rush up from it. Let your eyes, if they had lowered, lift as they wish. Feel the chair, feel the floor. It may be that something in you has unclenched by 1 degree. It may be that space has appeared around the picture you named, not as triumph, but as room. It may be that you feel simply ordinary, and that too is holiness when the pressure to manage has dropped. The peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds. Peace that passes understanding does not always announce itself with music. Often it is a quiet lack of compulsion. Do you see? We have not accomplished anything. We have consented. We have withdrawn authorship and allowed the author to have his place. If a word wants to come now, it will come without edge, and it will be yours to say. If silence wants to continue, it will continue without sulking, and it will be yours to keep. If an action wants to arise, a simple email, a gentle boundary, a small kindness, it will arise without the metallic taste of managing. Do not force a fruit to appear to prove the tree. The law is faithful whether you feel it or not. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. The presence is already at work where the picture seemed tight. If nothing seems to have changed, do not be deceived by appearances. Nothing is required of you beyond the consent you gave. The seed is sown. We do not dig up seeds to make sure they are sprouting. We trust the life that is in them. So it is with this. In the hour or the day ahead, watch without watching. Often the proof appears sideways. The person you had named within yourself as adversary speaks with unexpected fairness. A traffic delay you dreaded becomes a quiet time you did not know you needed. A conversation that had been postponed opens of itself and closes cleanly without anyone winning. Or perhaps nothing in the scene alters, but you are unburdened in the midst of it. And that unburdening is the law of harmony, making room for change in its time. Remember also that even your sense of softening is neither good nor evil in itself. Do not place your value in the sensation, lest you make of it a new idol. Place your value in the invisible, love that moved you to consent and moves through you as ease, as patience, as right word or right silence. When you meet the person who had carried your resentment, do not meet a personality. Behold a person without qualities. If you must speak, speak to the Christ in them, not to the mask. If you must be silent, let it be the silence that is full, not the silence that punishes. You may ask, how often should I do this? As often as the pen in you reaches for the case. Stop short, turn within. 1 breath will do. 1 minute is grace. 10 minutes is given, if given. But always consent, not effort. The word must become flesh. Yes, but it becomes flesh by our yielding, not by our forcing. You will discover, as many of us have discovered, that the more quickly you withdraw authorship, the more gently resentments dissolve, not by conquest, but by lack of oxygen. Without a judge, there is no prosecution. Without a doer, there is room for the doer. So we leave this minute behind us as we would leave a gift unwrapped in our hands, already ours without clinging. Thank the presence not with a flourish, but with a small inward nod, and let it go before you now into the next exchange, the next email, the next turn of the key in the door. You have not achieved quiet. You have accepted it. You have not made harmony. You have stopped resisting the one who is harmonizing. I and my Father are one. Carry that as warmth, not as a slogan. And as we go on, we will see what we need to see, not because we have pushed, but because we have learned the holy arithmetic, one line, one breath, one consent, and so it is. Now let us turn to the pictures that live not outside, but inside the narrative you hold. The text on the screen you have reread, the tone that lingers in the ear, the apology that never arrived and stands there like an empty chair at the table of your remembering. These are the most persuasive pictures because they seem to be yours. But hear this and try it. They are neither good nor evil. A text is a pattern of letters. A tone is a vibration that has already stopped. An absent apology is a blank line in a ledger you keep. The good, if it is to appear, is not lodged in any of these. The good is invisible. It is God appearing as understanding, as timing, as softening, as the word without edge when the word is needed. Withdraw your value from the picture, and you will feel the hook begin to come out of your own heart. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment is not human assessment. It is the refusal to assign value to form, returning value to the source. We learn this through objects, because objects are honest. Consider the ring, perhaps your grandmother's ring that was lost last spring. Feel how quickly the heart rises as if a person had been taken from you. Stop a moment. In what does its value lie? Is it a circle of metal, or was it always the invisible tenderness you felt for the hand that wore it, the hours of story and tea and quiet courage that the ring represented? The ring is neither good nor evil. The love it stood for is not metal, and therefore cannot be scratched, cannot be stolen, cannot be lost. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, not because rings are wicked, but because love is invisible and therefore secure. When you return your treasure to where it belongs, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. The grief that was strangling you loosens. You have not betrayed your grandmother. You have released her from being a metal object. Or take the letter tied with a ribbon in the bottom drawer. Every few months, you read it again and feel the rise and fall of something bittersweet. The paper is soft now. The ink has bled a little. It seems a sacrament. But listen to Paul's old sentence as if it were written to this very moment. The letter killeth, but the spirit giveth life. He was not scolding literacy. He was pointing to the trap of making the form the life. The letter, this literal paper, can kill the living relationship by imprisoning it in a noun. The spirit behind it, the intention, the care, the best that person could say then, that is what gives life now. Withdraw your value from the paper and return it to the invisible intention and watch how the ache softens into gratitude. Keep the ribbon if you like, but do not make it your God. A photograph behaves the same way. It can prosecute or it can bless. One glance and you are on trial again. You should have done more. You should have seen it coming. You were better then than you are now. Stop short. This picture is neither good nor evil. It is a paper and a chemistry of colors. The life you seek is not caught in gloss. The presence that gave that day, its light has not been printed. It is present. Turn within. I, my own self, can do nothing. Say it not only for you, but regarding the scene itself. And let the picture rest without prosecution. In that stillness, The photograph is relieved of being your judge, and you are relieved of being the defendant. Memory remains, but the gavel is gone. Neither do I condemn thee. That is the atmosphere of Christ. And in that atmosphere, pictures become witnesses to grace rather than weapons. Apply the same law to that text you saved as evidence, to that voicemail whose tone you have played like a theme song for your case. They are neither good nor evil. They are forms. If there is a reconciliation to be had, it will not be squeezed out of pixels by your replay. It will come as the invisible good appearing in a timing you cannot author, return value to the source. Set your affection on things above, not spatially above, but above the level of pictures, at the level of cause. Say, I, my own self, can do nothing. And in that same breath, consent to let the scene do nothing as well. Do not recruit it for your prosecution. Do not make an idol of it for your comfort. Let it be an empty frame in which the presence may paint what it will. Without a judge, there is no prosecution. Without a doer, there is room for the doer. This is not coldness. This is warmth freed from clutching. Grief is not a sin. It is a tender witness that you loved. But grief bound to a picture becomes a jailer. When value goes back to the invisible, grief can breathe. It can become gratitude. It can become compassion for others who mourn with no picture to hold. Likewise, a grudge is not proof of your strength. It is proof that you have placed your treasure in a form that can be threatened. When you unhook the picture, when you stop assigning the tone as evil and the apology as salvation, you find you can meet the person, if you must meet them, as a person without qualities. And the need to win leaves. If they apologize tomorrow, you will receive it cleanly. If they never do, you will not be held hostage by their silence. It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom, not the other's duty to return what you lost. Test this today. When a picture rises, ring, letter, photograph, text, tone, empty chair, stop short, whisper within, I, my own self, can do nothing. Then do nothing with the picture. Do not stroke it. Do not strike it. Let it be neither good nor evil. Turn your treasure homeward to the love that was always invisible, to the presence that is the only doer of reconciliation, of understanding, of right timing. Watch what happens. Often the picture remains, but its power to prosecute is gone. Sometimes, curiously, the ring is found in the lining of a coat. The letter's meaning is clarified by a new conversation. The photograph is placed where it blesses rather than wounds. The text is answered in a tone you did not know you had. Sometimes nothing changes but the air in your own chest, and that is everything. Because when value returns to the invisible, the picture loses power to prosecute, and the presence already at work has room to appear as the next quiet rightness. Now we turn from the picture to the person, which is to say, we turn from the mask to the face behind it. Persona, means mask. In the theater, a fine actor puts on a role, and we feel all kinds of reactions, love, anger, pity toward Hamlet or Lady Macbeth. But if we were wise, we would not take our quarrel to John Barrymore. We would not condemn the man for the character. In our living rooms and offices and kitchens, we forget this and we fight with Hamlet. We battle a costume. We prosecute a tone of voice as if it were the soul. Try to hear this gently. The quarrel you have held was not with the person. It was with a mask, your picture of them and their picture of themselves. The true identity was not on trial. God was never in the dock. Henceforth know we no man after the flesh, Paul said. And he meant, stop judging the mask. So the practice is this, and it is simple enough to be used in the parking lot and holy enough to touch heaven. Behold a person without qualities. Say it within, with no flourish, when you meet them in memory or in the hall. This is a person without qualities. Not good, not evil, not generous, not stingy, not wise, not foolish, neither praised nor condemned. When the adjectives fall away, where does your attention land? On the invisible, on the life that stands where the mask had been, on the Christ, not a man named Christ from a far off time, but the living identity that is God's own life, appearing as this one. The Master asked, why callest thou me good? None is good, save one that is God. If even he refused the assignment of qualities, we can refuse it for ourselves and for our neighbor. We are not denying their behavior. We are denying that behavior is identity. We are turning value back to the source. Now take the line we have learned and let it serve this beholding, or else you will try to make a new technique of it. Quietly, before a word is spoken or a glance returned, say within, I, my own self, can do nothing. Father, reveal thyself as this one. Not reveal yourself to them to fix them. Reveal thyself as this one, because their truth is not in their mask any more than yours is in your mask. You are withdrawing authorship of who they must be. You are ceasing to manufacture a self for them out of yesterday's hurt. You are consenting to an unveiling that is God's to do. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that God is the identity here. You can try this in a very ordinary scene. At the office door of the supervisor whose email stung, stop short with your hand on the knob. I, my own self, can do nothing. Father, reveal thyself as this one. Enter without a case in your pocket. Look without collecting evidence. You may find there is a word to say, and it will be given you without edge. Or you may find silence is the true word, and it will hold without sulking. At the family table where last year's sarcasm became a sport, pause as you set your glass down. This is a person without qualities. Let the temptation to pre-write their lines pass you by. In the checkout line where the cashier seems curt, remember a mask. The Christ stands where the mask stood. Father, reveal thyself as this one. Watch what happens, not outside first, but in the atmosphere within you. The sharpness looks for a place to land and finds none. What fruit should we look for? Very little, and that is the wonder. The heat diminishes. The prosecution has lost its judge, and so the trial cannot proceed. Compassion appears, not as a virtue you try to adopt, but as space where a person can be seen without being used for your argument. You may notice a curiosity about their day instead of a scorekeeping against their tone. Sometimes, very often in fact, the other changes without your speech. A hardness melts. A fairness you had not experienced shows itself. An apology arises in a form you could not have scripted, or nothing in their manner is different, and yet you have no need to win, and therefore you are free to speak straight or to set a clean boundary without poison. Neither do I condemn thee, not because there is nothing to address, but because condemnation is not the way of healing. Please do not confuse this beholding with pretending. We are not painting white over misconduct. If there is a wrong to be righted, the presence that goes before you will take form as justice or as a step you should indeed take, but the step will not be born of your resentment. It will be born of your release. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, not the sharpening of your tongue. Renewing the mind is this: taking identity out of the human picture and returning it to God. Then if a no is needed, it is a clean no. If a leaving is needed, it is a clean leaving. If a yes is given, it is a clean yes. The mask does not get to command your life, and you do not have to smash it to be safe. You are in the government of the One. Try this also in memory. Bring up the face that still has your stomach in a knot. Observe how swiftly the adjectives arrive to defend you or to accuse them. Stop short. This is a person without qualities. Let the adjectives drop like old costumes. Then the line, I my own self can do nothing. Father, reveal thyself as this one. Rest there a breath or two without authoring what should be revealed. If tears come, let them wash the mask's glue from your own hands. If nothing comes, bless the quiet. It is enough that you have withdrawn authorship. You will often find within hours that your narration has lost interest in humiliating them. And in that very moment, you may notice a small surprising thought. They too were afraid. They too were wearing armor. Compassion is not indulgence, it is sight. And what are you then? Beholding them thus, you are not lesser, you are truer. I and my Father are one. That is not a slogan. It is the description of identity. When the mask has been set down, all that the Father hath is mine, not a treasure chest of qualities for a better personality, but the life that speaks as right word, as right pause, as right timing. When you see Christ instead of qualities, the game of winning ends because there is no opponent. There is only God revealing God through and as those who yesterday looked like foes. Walk into your next meeting, your next room, your next memory with this quiet sentence, ready, not as a weapon, but as a welcome. I, my own self, can do nothing. Father, reveal thyself as this one. Then stop there, consent, and see if the air does not clear. So it is. Let us walk it now, not in theory, but in shoes, through aisles and doorways and inboxes. In the store, the scanner beeps and you notice the strawberries have rung up twice. The old habit wakes one voice to prosecute, one to shrink back and pay the penalty for peace. Stop short. Hand on the cart, heart in silence. I, my own self, can do nothing. Father, reveal thyself as this one. The cashier is a person without qualities. The register is a picture, neither good nor evil. Do not place your value in the total on the screen. Place it in the invisible rightness that governs even this small exchange. Then simply say the simple word that is given, if any. I think that item scanned twice. No edge, no case history. A soft answer turneth away wrath. You will see, very often, the correction appear without your push, a key tapped, an apology, the new total. And if on a rare day the correction does not come, watch what does. A quietness that refuses to prosecute the person. A freedom to let $2 go without writing a story on their soul or yours. The good is invisible. It is not in the coin. Let the presence make the crooked places straight in ways you do not have to author. In the house, the holiday table stands where last year's words stood sharp. Before you ring the bell, keep your hand on the latch and take the minute we learned, I, my own self, can do nothing. The roles are costumes, eldest, child, peacemaker, black sheep, expert, judge. Let them hang in the hall. This is a person without qualities. Father, reveal thyself as this one. Take no thought for what ye shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour. Enter empty of rehearsals, full of consent. You may find a question rising in you. that has space in it, not bait. You may find a silence that is a blessing, not a withholding. If an old jab comes across the table, you need not take it into the court of your mind. You can let it pass as weather, an answer. If the answer is given with a word that has no hook, sometimes someone will say what they have never been able to say, and it will land because you were not busy writing their part. Sometimes nothing is spoken, and yet the meal finishes without the tightness of winning. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. And look, under that atmosphere, the enemies were costumes, and the table was kindness in ordinary dishes. In the office, the slight arrives by email, your name missing from the credit, or a comment sent to all that narrows you into a corner. The fingers go to the keys to craft your defense. Stop short. Turn within. 1 minute. I, my own self, can do nothing. Neither praise nor blame resides in the email. It is pixels. The person who sent it is a person without qualities. Father, reveal thyself as this one. Let the presence go before your reply, like an unseen courtesy clearing a path. You may write then, not to wound and not to win, but to set something clean and true. I'd like to add a detail that may help, or I'm available to clarify, or nothing at all today. Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt. Frequently, you will see another email come. My oversight. Thank you, without your having demanded it. Or perhaps the meeting that loomed breaks open in an unexpected way, and you are guided to speak once, plainly, and to stop. Do not measure success by someone's concession. Measure it by the absence of poison in your own words, and by the curious way outcomes find you when you have ceased to force them. On the road, traffic stops as if an invisible hand pressed pause, and the old heat rises. They do not know how to drive. This city is impossible. I am late, and this proves the universe is against me. Stop short. I, my own self, can do nothing. Break foot gentle, breath given. The lane is neither good nor evil. It is a picture. The good is invisible. Patience appearing as safety. Timing appearing as protection. A thought arriving to call ahead. You might watch a gap open for you without signaling, or you might be moved to let another in and find in the exchange a warmth that was not in the plan. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. When you arrive, you will not have to apologize with a hot face. You will say what is true without groveling, and you will discover that the meeting started 5 minutes late for reasons no one could have known. The presence that goes before you was already in the room. Online, scrolling, the algorithm arranges its parade. Praise, blame, outrage, invitation to perform. The same law holds. I, my own self, can do nothing. This post is neither good nor evil. This headline is a picture. Withdraw your value from the heat and return it to the invisible love that is the only doer of healing in this world. You may find the urge to comment dissolving without repression, or you may find a quiet sentence arises that adds light, not heat, and you will place it as one would place a seed and walk on. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Often the practical harmony here is very simple. Your afternoon remains whole, your nervous system unshredded, your tenderness available for the person actually in the room. You have not refused to care. You have refused to be drafted into pictures, prosecuting pictures. Note what is the same in every scene, not a new technique for every aisle and every inbox, but one inner motion. Stop short. Turn within. Consent. One line, I, my own self, can do nothing. One beholding, this is a person without qualities. One trust, the Father that dwelleth in me. He doeth the works. Because of this sameness, you can reproduce harmony without strain. Not the same event, but the same atmosphere. A softening here, a right word there, a timing that saves you from collision, a boundary that stands without anger. We are not making magic. We are letting the word become flesh. The presence that goes before you is not a theory. It is experienced in the corrections that appear without push, in the apologizings you did not wring out of anyone, in the evenings that end without a winner and therefore without a loser. Try it today in these small places and watch. Keep your eye not on visible signs as trophies, but on the quiet lack of compulsion in you. When you notice that you did not rehearse the speech, that you did not need the cashier to be guilty, to be at peace, that you drove without prosecuting 100 strangers, smile inwardly and give thanks. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. The kingdom is not a mood, it is a government. And under that government, one inner motion yields many outward harmonies. So it is. Now comes the part we cannot plan. Fruitage. When we withdraw authorship and stand still inside that single line, there is an activity we do not begin, that begins for us. Scripture has a way of saying these things in pictures the heart understands before the mind can approve. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. Who is the I? Not our cleverness, not our force, the presence. And how does it go before? Often the Bible speaks of angels, and you need not think of feathers. Think of functions of realized consciousness, moving ahead of your feet, preparing receptivity, untangling timings, loosening hardened conclusions. He shall give his angels charge over thee, which is to say, the quiet you consented to here becomes an influence there. The atmosphere in which you refuse to judge becomes a room you have not entered yet, warmed for conversation. Your willingness to behold a person without qualities becomes the softening of their guardedness before you arrive. Angels are not imported. They are the motion of the one life recognized and released from your will. Do not try to direct them. This is where the humility must remain intact, or else you will take this beautiful word and turn it into a tool for getting apologies on demand. We do not manipulate outcomes. We abide. The government shall be upon his shoulder, not yours. When you feel the old urge to specify, let them say this at 3 p.m., and I will answer that stop short once more. I, my own self, can do nothing. Let the presence script its own fruitage. It is not indifferent to harmony. It is harmony. It is not slow. It is exact. It is not partial. It is whole. Trust the invisible activity more than the visible evidence. The visible will catch up. What does fruitage look like? Sometimes it is as simple as a thaw. Nothing dramatic is said, but the stiffness is gone. The meeting that had always been a contest becomes, for no good reason anyone can see, workable. You find yourself laughing with the very one who yesterday seemed to be your opposite. Sometimes an apology arrives, not wrenched out of someone by your superior argument, but rising as sap rises in spring because the frost inside the roots has eased. Often, and this is tender to say, the peace that appears in you removes the need for any apology at all. The ledger you were keeping closes without a sound, and you realize there is nothing owed because there is no court left to pay. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Apply it here. It is the Father's good pleasure to give you reconciliation in the forms it should take, to give you daily harmony in the measures that keep all free. You do not have to seize what is given. You will notice curious timings. You stop rehearsing that call, and when you finally dial, the person answers with, "I'm glad you reached me now. 5 minutes ago, I couldn't have talked." You take your hand off the knob for that 1 minute of silence, and entering, you discover that the other had just said to themselves, "Let's keep this simple today," or the provision meets you before the need can become a panic. The right word is already in the room waiting for your lips. Angels, again, consciousness going before, smoothing the way no map could show. Before they call, I will answer, not as a reward for piety, but as the natural law of turning value back to the invisible and letting cause be cause. Please hold this boundary with love. We are not to use these principles to make someone kinder so that we can avoid our own honest step. If a boundary is needed, it will be given and it will be clean, without poison. If a consequence must be allowed, it will be allowed without revenge. The presence that goes before is not sentimental, it is just. And because the government is on his shoulder, not ours, justice arrives without our heat. You will be surprised how often the very step you feared to take becomes gentle when you are no longer carrying a prosecution with it. Even when the outer sign does not conform to your picture, when they do not apologize, when the job does not open, when the invitation is not returned, you will find that something better than your picture has occurred. You are unhooked. And in that unhookedness, a different road becomes clear that was blocked by your demand. Fruitage is sometimes a door opening. Sometimes it is a door peaceably closing so that your feet are turned to the right street. Watch for a new way of measuring. Do not count visible wins. Notice the absence of compulsion. Notice how few speeches you have to make. Notice the intervals of quiet in the very place noise used to be. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Seeing here is not staring at the surface for proof. It is recognizing that the salvation is the government itself, operating ideas arranging, hearts softening, timings answering. The kingdom is not awarded at the end of the process like a medal. It is the government under which the process takes place. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom, and therefore his good pleasure to let that kingdom be experienced as daily sufficiency, as reconciled moments, as corrections that nobody had to lose to grant. If you wish for a sign, take this one, because it repeats. The weight moves from your shoulder to his. You will feel it. The sensation is unmistakable. Where strains, you will be answering, and the answers will belong to a rhythm you did not compose. Trust that rhythm. Trust the angels you have not hired yet, who are already at work. Trust the presence that goes before you to make the crooked places straight in ways your cleverness could only kink further. And then, when the simple harmonies appear, and they will give thanks inwardly where the thanks belongs, not to the cashier, though you will be courteous, not to the timing, though you will be grateful. Give thanks to the invisible love that governs its own creation and that invites you, by one surrendered line, to live under its government. So it is, let us make this more than a lovely hour. Let us give it 7 days, so the word becomes flesh, not as a strain, but as a rhythm. Try it this way, and try it gently. 3 times a day, morning, midday, evening, choose 1 minute. Do not make a ceremony, make a space. Stop short wherever you are. Feet on the ground if they can be. Heart in silence where it always can be. And say within once or twice, not as magic, but as release, I, my own self, can do nothing. Then be still. No requests, No rehearsals. Consent. Let the presence be presence without your commentary. If the mind wants to help, let it help by returning to that single line, and then by letting the line fall away so the silence may be itself. 1 minute is long enough for God. It is long enough for you. Be still and know that I am God. Once each day, give that same consent to a specific relationship. Choose one face, especially the one your heart least prefers, and practice what we have seen. This is a person without qualities. Say it softly. Let the adjectives fall. I, my own self, can do nothing. Father, reveal thyself as this one. Not to make them different, to satisfy a picture, not to earn a pleasant afternoon, but to withdraw authorship so the presence that goes before can be the doer. If a word is given to say, it will be unhooked. If no word is given, you will have already done the deeper work by leaving the mask on the rack. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment is recognition, not opinion. Each evening, take a page and make it a witness. 3 notes, no more are needed. First, what softened? It may be your breath in traffic, your tone at the sink, the tightness around a name. Second, where did I release praise or blame? Did you refrain from calling someone good in a way that would have trapped them in a pedestal? Did you refrain from calling someone evil in a way that would have imprisoned you both? Third, what guidance or provision followed? Not trophies. Notice the practical harmonies that came of themselves. The email that arrived, the timing that spared you a rush, the apology you did not solicit, the clean no that set you free. Before they call, I will answer, and your page will show how often that is already true when you are not the author. If you would like company in this, create an atmosphere in your home or team for these same 7 days. You can do this without a speech. Decide within that, here, no one is being praised into a role or condemned into a corner. Praise and blame are 2 ends of the same leash. Recognition is freedom. So if a task is done well, say simply, thank you. And let your gratitude be to the presence that found its way as skill through this one. If a mistake appears, set it right without prosecuting the person. Neither do I condemn thee is not softness on wrong. It is loyalty to the only way healing ever travels. As this atmosphere grows, you will notice a peculiar relaxation. People try less to perform goodness, and strangely more goodness appears, because the good is invisible and is being valued where it lives. Now, for the counterintuitive assignment that will save you years. Declare the line most often concerning those you least prefer, those who seem to have proof against your peace, enemies, competitors, relatives, who have always known just where to press. Let the line be for them. I, my own self, can do nothing. Father, reveal thyself as this one. You may think, but won't that make me weak? It will make you honest. It removes the need to win and restores the capacity to see. Strength that requires an enemy is not strength. It is tension. All that the Father hath is mine includes the unforced right word and the unforced right boundary. And these will prove stronger than the push that has worn you out. As you move through the week, bring the silence with you into little tasks. Washing a cup, you can say, I, my own self, can do nothing. And discover you are not rushing to the future, but letting the water be now. Typing an email. Do not cram the sentence with fear. Stop short, 1 breath, the Father that dwelleth in me. He doeth the works, and then type one sentence fewer than the prosecution had planned. Walking to the car, feel the ground and give thanks before there is anything to thank for on the surface. Gratitude here is not politeness. It is recognition. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And gratitude is our quiet way of saying, we know where the gifts come from, and therefore we know how to carry them. You will not have to do this perfectly. Do it rhythmically. Bells will ring on your phone if you like, but better in your heart. And each bell will mean the same small surrender. If you forget the morning, take the minute at noon. If you miss the noon, take it in the parking lot. If you miss the day, let the evening page be your return and not your scolding. We are not earning God. We are consenting to God. Fear not, little flock, is our permission slip to try small and trust large. And now I bless you, not to add anything to you, but to recognize what already is. The presence goes before you to make the crooked places straight. Angels, which is to say the functions of realized love, are given charge concerning you. The government is upon his shoulder, not yours. May your 7 days be marked by lightness where strain sat, by answers that arrive before your questions are finished, by reconciliations that do not require a loser, by boundaries that are clean and therefore kind. Carry the silence into the supermarket, into the meeting, into the mirror, when the harmonies appear, and they will bow inwardly, give thanks where thanks belongs, and walk on. I, my own self, can do nothing. The Word must become flesh. So it is.